This is Quentin.
He's Jason.
We're here at Downtown Wine and Gourmet, where once again we are joined by Billy Bross, home brewer and beer blogger. And Billy, why don't you remind everyone where they can find you on the World Wide Web?
The website is billybrew.com. Write about craft beer or home brewing, do a lot of video tips, so check it out sometime.
Yeah, definitely check it out. There's a lot of great information on the website. And today we are tasting the Firestone Walker Union Jack IPA. Firestone Walker is a brewery out of California. IPAs, style of beer that contains a fair amount of hops in the flavor profile. And before we get started tasting, Billy, do you have any favorite hop varietals that stand out to you in your home brewing and beer tasting?
I do. I tend to go back and forth on them, but for the past year or so I've really been hooked on Amarillo and Simcoe hops. You know, Amarillo has that great citrusy flavor to it, and Simcoe's pretty similar, but it's got more of a piney flavor also, but both really good varieties. And I know that they're both in this beer.
Indeed, they are. Both varieties are contained among a few others in the Firestone Walker Union Jack.
I've got a question for you. As far as favorite IPAs, what's your top ranking right now?
Well, you know, like most Americans, I love IPAs. That seems to be the dominant style right now in the country. There's a lot of hopheads, so I could go on and on about them. But right now, Stone's IPA is definitely up there in the top 3. Dogfish Head 60 Minute, Bear Republic Racer 5 comes to mind, and Green Flash. They have a great IPA also.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah. Let's get started here. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the history of IPAs or India Pale Ales, they originated in Great Britain where they were brewed in order to sustain a journey to India where British soldiers were stationed, and in order to survive this journey they had ramped up the malt, which created more alcohol, and they had increased the amount of hops being put into the beer, which again helped sustain it over the course of its journey. And when it arrived at its destination in India, it was actually watered back down for the soldiers so they could drink something that they were accustomed to. But modern day India Pale Ales, it is the beer that you would get before it had been watered down. So it's a bolder flavored beer, often tends to be slightly higher in alcohol than its pale ale cousin. And again, you get a nice big hop component in the flavor profile.
So what are you getting in this as far as the aroma and the taste?
You know, I get really big citrusy flavors from the hops.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely that Amarillo, Simcoe bouquet. And you can tell that there's a lot of varieties in this too. You can definitely tell a beer that has 4 or 5 varieties from one that uses 1 or 2. And a key thing about this beer is that it was dry hopped also. So they add fresh hops to the fermenter, and what that does, it adds a lot of hop aroma and adds a little bit of flavor, but it doesn't add any bitterness. The bitterness only comes through when you boil the hops. And so that's why this one has a really great nose on it.
Yeah, you definitely get that Pledge dust, you know, furniture dusting spray in there, that lemony thing.
Yeah, lemony, citrusy, grapefruity. It's a really complex hop profile. And one thing I think is really great about this is it can achieve that complex hop flavor and aroma and get a lot of hop character in the beer, but it manages to do that and avoid any harshness and bitterness that you can find in some IPAs. It's a very smooth beer overall, I'd say.
Yeah, it's still well balanced. You know, you can have a balanced IPA, and so you still taste the malt in this beer. You taste that breadiness and that kind of caramel flavor to it.
That's the kind of stuff that you so often don't see in the American style IPAs.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, and I can really appreciate that. I tend to like those IPAs better than the over-the-top hoppy IPAs.
Yeah, so this is a big beer, very complex. What would you pair it with food-wise? Anything?
I think I would go with something spicy, you know, Indian food, Thai food, maybe even Mexican. With cheese, I would go with a sharp cheddar, something that, you know, this could really cut right through it. Yeah. You know, the bitterness would really, you know, scrub those cheesy fat particles off your palate. And that's the great thing about beer and cheese too. It has that carbonation that can really clean your palate off.
Yeah.
Something wine cannot do.
Yeah. It is delicious, and I agree. I could see it with spicy food, bold food, curry, Mexican cheeses as well. Excellent beer. You can find it at Downtown Wine and Gourmet for $5.39, 22-ounce format. Thank you for joining us here on Expanding Palates
and Blowing Minds.